In 1977, an astronomer named Jerry Emmon was reviewing data from a radio telescope in Ohio. He saw 6 characters printed on a piece of paper. His hand started shaking. He grabbed a red pen, circled those 6 characters, and wrote one word in the margin. Wow! He spent the rest of his life trying to figure out what he'd seen. He never did, for exactly 72 seconds. Something out there somewhere in the constellation Sagittarius sent Earth a radio signal so perfect, so impossibly precise, that it shattered every assumption scientists had about signals from space. Scientists spent decades searching for it again. They never found it. But to understand why this signal broke physics, you need to know what astronomers were actually looking for that night. In the 1970s, a group of scientists started a project called SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. The idea was simple, almost naive. If intelligent civilizations exist out there, they might be broadcasting radio signals into space, and if we just listened carefully enough, we might hear them. They weren't sending messages. They weren't trying to make contact. They were just listening. The tool they used was a massive radio telescope in Ohio called Big Ear. Picture a structure the size of 3 football fields, built to detect the faintest whispers from deep space. Big Ear worked automatically. It didn't move. Instead, as Earth rotated, the telescope slowly scanned different sections of the sky. Every point in space stayed in its view for exactly 72 seconds before the planet's rotation carried it out of range. The data wasn't reviewed in real time. Big Ear printed everything onto long sheets of computer paper, numbers and letters representing signal strength. Scientists would collect these printouts and review them days, sometimes weeks later, looking for anything unusual. It was tedious work. Mostly, they found nothing. So when Jerry Emmon sat down a few days after August 15th to review that night's data, he was expecting another stack of cosmic silence, just background noise, random static, the usual. And then, on one line of paper, he saw it NY point in the sky. So they did what any scientist would do. They pointed the telescope back at that exact spot and waited. Days passed, then weeks, then months. Nothing. They tried again and again. Different telescopes, different teams, different technologies. Over the years, scientists would attempt more than 100 separate observations of that region of space. Every single time silence. The signal never returned. Not the next day, not the next year, not in the 4 to 7 years since. It appeared once for 72 seconds and then vanished from the universe like it never existed at all. But here's what made scientists lose sleep over this signal. The wow signal wasn't just strong. It wasn't just mysterious. It had characteristics that made it scientifically impossible to ignore and terrifying to explain. Let's start with the frequency. The signal was broadcasting at 1420 megahertz. To most people, that's just a number. But to astronomers searching for extraterrestrial intelligence, 1420 megahertz is the most important frequency in the universe. It's called the hydrogen line. Hydrogen is the most abundant element in existence. It's everywhere, in every galaxy, around every star. And hydrogen naturally emits radiation at exactly 1420 megahertz. In the 1950s, scientists theorized that any advanced civilization trying to send a message across space would choose this frequency, because any other intelligent species would be listening there too. It's the cosmic equivalent of a universal language. Here's the thing. Earth protects that frequency. By international agreement, no one is allowed to broadcast at 1420 megahertz. No cell towers, no satellites, no military systems. It's a protected radio quiet zone specifically so we can listen for signals from space without interference. The wow signal came through at exactly that frequency. That alone was stunning. But it gets stranger. Natural cosmic events, pulsars, quasars, exploding stars, they broadcast across a wide range of frequencies. They're messy, like white noise spread across the radio dial. But the wow signal was different. It was narrowband. That means it was concentrated in an incredibly tight, focused beam, like a laser pointer in a dark room. The signal wasn't scattered. It wasn't bleeding into other frequencies. It was surgically precise, broadcasting in a bandwidth less than 10 kilohertz wide. Natural phenomena don't do that. Stars don't do that. Cosmic gas clouds don't do that. Engineered transmitters do that. And then there's the signal's behavior, the way it rose and fell in that perfect bell curve. When Big Ear scanned across a point in space, any stationary source would appear to grow stronger as the telescope's beam centered on it, then fade as the beam moved past. That's basic geometry. The WOW signal followed that pattern flawlessly. The intensity increased, peaked at you, and decreased in exactly the smooth arc you'd expect from something fixed in deep space. If this had been a satellite or an airplane, the pattern would have been different, erratic, Doppler shifted, moving. If it had been interference bouncing off Earth's atmosphere, the frequency would have drifted. But no, the signal was clean, stable, stationary. It behaved like something out there, far beyond our solar system, was transmitting for 72 seconds. And here's the part that haunts researchers. Whatever it was, it never spoke again. More than 100 follow-up observations. Different radio telescopes across the world. Decades of technology improvements. Searchers went back to that exact patch of sky over and over, listening with instruments far more sensitive than Big Ear ever was. Total silence, not a whisper, not a flicker. Nothing. It's like someone sent one postcard from an unknown address and then burned the return label. So what do scientists think today? Nearly 50 years later, scientists still argue about what the WOW signal was, and the truth is, no one really knows. But there are theories, some plausible, some desperate, and one that nobody can completely rule out. Let's start with the most recent explanation. In 2017, a scientist named Antonio Paris proposed that the signal came from comets, specifically to comets to 66P, Christensen and 335P, Gibbs, that happened to be passing through that region of space in 1977. Comets, Paris explained, are surrounded by massive clouds of hydrogen gas. As they travel through space, that hydrogen could emit radiation at 1420 megahertz, the exact frequency of the WOW signal. It was a neat explanation, testable, grounded in physics. So Paris tested it. When those same comets passed through similar positions years later, he scanned them with radio telescopes, and he detected hydrogen emissions. Case closed. Right? Not quite. Other scientists pushed back hard. They pointed out that the hydrogen clouds around comets are huge and diffuse. They should produce broad, messy signals, not the tight, narrowband transmission the WOW signal showed. The comet theory also didn't explain why dozens of follow-up observations found nothing. If comets were the source, we should have seen similar signals from other comets. We haven't. The debate continues. Some researchers accept the comet explanation. Others call it incomplete at best. Then there's the possibility of a natural cosmic event we simply don't understand yet. Space is full of phenomena we've only recently discovered: fast radio bursts, magnetars, mysterious energy pulses we can't fully explain. Maybe the WOW signal was something like that. A maser, a naturally occurring microwave laser firing off in a rare configuration. A 1 in a million alignment of cosmic conditions that produced a signal mimicking intelligence. It's possible. The universe is strange enough. But here's the problem. We've never seen it happen again. In nearly 5 decades of scanning the sky, nothing like the WOW signal has repeated. If it was a natural event, it's either spectacularly rare, or we're missing something fundamental about how the universe works. There's also the terrestrial explanation. Some scientists have suggested the signal was interference from Earth, maybe a reflection off a satellite, space debris, or even a secret military transmission that bounced back in just the right way to look like it came from deep space. But that theory has holes too. The frequency was in a protected zone. The signal's behavior matched a distant, stationary source, not something orbiting Earth. And Big Ear's design made it very difficult for ground-based interference to produce that kind of signature. Could it have been a fluke, a perfect storm of coincidences? Maybe, but then there's the hypothesis no scientist wants to say out loud in a serious journal, but nobody can completely dismiss. What if it was exactly what it looked like? An artificial transmission, a signal from an intelligent source, not random, not natural, deliberate. We don't have proof. We can't verify it. The signal never repeated, so we can't study it further. But we also can't rule it out, and that's what keeps this mystery alive, because the WOW signal sits in this uncomfortable space where the evidence points in a direction science isn't ready to fully embrace, but also can't ignore. 50 years later, The most honest answer anyone can give is, we don't know, and maybe we never will. Here's what we know for sure. The WOW signal did something no other single event in astronomy had done before it forced scientists to confront a terrifying possibility. What if evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence isn't a constant signal we can study at our leisure? What if it's fleeting? What if it happens once? And if we're not paying attention at that exact moment, we miss it forever. Before 1977, CTI operated on a simple assumption. If we find a signal, we'll be able to confirm it. We'll detect it multiple times, verify it with different instruments, study it, analyze it. Science requires repeatability. The WOW signal shattered that assumption. It showed up once. It followed every pattern scientists predicted an alien signal would follow. And then it disappeared, leaving behind nothing but 6 characters on a printout and decades of questions. That changed everything. After the WOW signal, SETI programs completely overhauled their detection protocols. They built systems with instant verification, multiple telescopes observing the same point in space simultaneously. So if something appears, it can be confirmed in real time, not days later when it's already gone. They developed automated alert systems that immediately notify astronomers when unusual signals are detected, allowing teams around the world to point their instruments at the source within minutes, not weeks. They created vast digital archives, storing raw data from every observation, because now scientists understood that a single fleeting event might be the only evidence we ever get. One 72-second signal taught the scientific community a humbling lesson. We can't afford to look away. But the WOW signal changed more than just methodology. It changed perspective. Before 1977, the search for extraterrestrial life felt theoretical, patient, methodical, almost philosophical. Scientists talked about listening for decades, maybe centuries, slowly scanning the galaxy with the calm certainty that if something was out there, we'd eventually find it. After the WOW signal, there was urgency, because now scientists realized the universe doesn't repeat itself on our schedule. Events can be unique, evidence can be transient, and if we're not ready, if our technology isn't sensitive enough, if our telescopes aren't pointed in the right direction at the right moment, we might miss the most important discovery in human history. The WOW signal became a symbol of that fear, a reminder that the cosmos operates on its own terms, indifferent to our need for answers. It taught science humility, and that might be its greatest legacy. Nearly 50 years later, we still don't know what sent that signal. Was it hydrogen clouds around a comet, glowing at just the right frequency? A freak astrophysical event, some cosmic phenomenon so rare we've never seen it before or since? A reflection of our own technology, bounced back from space in a way that fooled us? Or was it something else? Something looking back? The truth is, we may never know. The Big Ear telescope that detected the WOW signal was demolished in 1997, torn down to make room for a golf course. The exact region of space where the signal originated has been scanned hundreds of times since that night in August 1977. Silence, always silence. But maybe that's the point. Maybe the WOW signal isn't about finding an answer. Maybe it's about what it forces us to ask. It reminds us that the universe doesn't owe us explanations. It doesn't wait for us to be ready. It whispers once just one sand we have to be listening. It shows us something impossible, something that defies our models and challenges our assumptions. And then it leaves us to decide, what do we believe? How do we interpret the unknown? Because here's what we do know. For 72 seconds on August 15, 1977, something transmitted a signal at the exact frequency scientists said an intelligent civilization would use. It was narrowband, powerful, and stationary in deep space. It rose and fell in a perfect pattern. It appeared once and never again, and an astronomer named Jerry Emmons circled it with a red pen and wrote WOW, a word that would echo through decades of research, speculation, and wonder. Somewhere in the constellation Sagittarius, 72 seconds changed physics, and the silence that followed. That might be the loudest message of all.